Hey, it's Art from my new microphone. In today's video, we will take a look and listen to the various types of delay that are available to us as music producers and mixing engineers, and how we can use them in the mix. Notably, we will be looking and listening at tape delay, analog delay, and digital delay. Let's get into it. Starting with tape delay, we have a delay type that has historically required multiple tape recorders to achieve. However, today we have hardware and software to achieve this tape delay effect. The tone of tape delay, whether it's via real tape machines or through emulations in hardware or software, can be defined in these three following points. The first is tape saturation, which is a soft clipping type of distortion that happens if we hit tape a little bit too hard. That leads to a sort of warm and pleasant distortion to the audio. The second is filtered repeats, where each repeat in the delay cycle gets degraded worse and worse. This is particularly noticeable in the top end, so each repeat in the tape delay will get darker and darker or warmer and warmer as it gives a sense of space to the audio. And the third is a slight chorusing effect caused by the imperfections of the tape machines themselves. The subtle movements and speed variations of the tape machines would cause slight variations in pitch that would cause a sort of vibrato or chorusing effect in the tape delay. So with that, let's hop into Logic Pro real quick, and I will show you a few plugin emulations of tape delay. All right, here we are inside of Logic Pro to have a look and listen at a few different tape delay emulation plugins. Starting off, of course, because we're in Logic Pro, with Logic's own tape delay. And before we listen to the delay, let's just have a quick listen to the short guitar loop I have going on here. There's plenty of space in this, and it's just 2 chords, but we'll have a quick listen. So again, plenty of space so that we can hear the delay affecting the space in between the 2 guitar chords right there. So we'll turn this back on. I have the guitar track here being bussed to this aux return, which has the delay on it. Because of that, if we open up the delay here, we'll see that I have the wet all the way to 100 because it's an effects return, and the dry set to 0. So in typical fashion, we have the delay time right here. We can sync it to the tempo. We see here that we can have a half note, but we can go quarter, dotted eighth. There's a whole bunch of different settings right here. We also have deviation right here. So if this is set to 0, this will be a perfect quarter note. But if we deviate this a little bit, you see that the delay time is increasing here. So we're actually offsetting from this base point of a quarter note right here. So in positive, it's a little bit lagging, and if we go negative, it's a little bit beforehand. Right here we have the character section where we have the clip threshold. This is the threshold at which the tape emulation will begin to clip. So if we bring that down, we are more likely to get that tape saturation. And if we bring it up, we are less likely to get as much tape saturation. The spread control right here is for stereo instances of this plugin. It just helps make the tape delay wider or narrower depending on if it's positive or negative respectively. We have the tape head mode here, which we can set to clean or diffuse. We have a EQ right here where we can apply low cut and high cut filters. Also, in typical delay fashion, we have a feedback control where at 0% we'll only get a single delay. And as we increase this feedback, we will get more and more repeats from the original signal. If we go above 100%, we will basically be self-oscillating this delay plugin, which means that the repeats themselves will feed into the delay unit and cause a sort of ongoing repeating process that can quickly get out of hand. Moving down to the modulation section down here, this basically emulates how a tape machine would act as it's not perfectly on time. It will warble a little bit, and the speed variances will cause pitch shifting and warble within the effect itself. So let's listen here. I'll mess around with a few of these parameters, and we can hear what this tape delay sounds like. You'll notice that it's full of character, and depending on the settings, we can get it to sound pretty dark as well. So that's the sound of Logic's tape delay emulation plugin right there. If you use Logic, I would highly recommend using this stock plugin. I use it all the time. It sounds great and is super easy to use. Let's close this one down quickly and move on to a plugin that's a little bit more involved, which is the FabFilter Timeless 3. Now, I don't usually use this plugin, but you can see here that there are plenty of different controls that we can deal with. So let's just listen through and I'll play around with the settings here. We've got drive, lo-fi for a more lo-fi sound, diffuse to add more diffusion to the tape, dynamics, pitch, which we can alter the pitch of the delays, the amount of delay we have right here. We have left and right control for panning, feedback, which again is the amount of repeats that we will have, and the wet control right here. Let's bring the mix up to 100 because this is an effects return. Then we've got the input drive, tape speed, tape warble, chorus, and ducking right here with a bunch of other cool LFOs and envelopes that we can use to control these settings right here. And a cool thing about FabFilter plugins is if we hover over one of these, it'll show us what this setting is. So for example, the lo-fi effect is a well-tuned combination of sample rate and bit depth reduction. It can be used to pleasantly degrade the signal from a subtle vintage edge all the way to total destruction. You can quickly enable or disable this effect by clicking in the center of the knob. Clicking and dragging the knob will change the lo-fi distortion amount. So we can go through and really get into detail about each of these. We also have an EQ right here, but for the purposes of this video and try to keep it short, we'll just listen through and mess around with some settings and go from there. And you notice that as I was playing around, particularly with the delay time, we got some interesting effects where we had rapid pitch change. And this is a cool effect that can be used in your mixes to give a sort of special production element to your mixes. This is not only something to do with tape delay, we can get this effect with plenty of delay units, but I just wanted to drive that point home in this example right here. So again, there's a lot going on in this plugin. This is not a full demo of the Timeless 3, but I just wanted to give you another example of a plugin that does tape delay. And before we move on, I just want to open up Echo Boy, which is one of the absolute best delay plugins, in my opinion, on the market today. And in this plugin, we have several different tape echo or tape delay presets that we can choose from. So for example, we have the 15 IPS tape echo right here. And it just sounds great right out of the box. We also have our 30 IPS tape echo. Make sure that that's all the way wet. We have our mix, our echo time, the amount of feedback. We also have our low cut and high cut similar to the tape delay plugin directly from Logic. We have our tweak prime numbers. We have groove and feel, so we can actually shuffle or swing or just have the groove straight right here, or we can rush or drag the delay as we see fit. We also have single delay, dual echo, ping pong, and rhythmic echo modes that we can choose from. And depending on the mode right here, we can get a stereo effect or a rhythmic delay right here. We'll keep it on single echo for the purposes of this. And then we have our input, output, and saturation control right here to give a little bit more grit to the delay effect itself. In addition to the 30 IPS, we also have our master tape, which is modeled after the Ampex ATR 102 running at 30 IPS. We have studio tape, which is modeled after the same Ampex machine, but running at 15 IPS. Make sure that that's all the way wet. We have the Echoplex, which is based off of course, the EP3 solid-state tape echo. We also have our Space Echo, which is based off of the Roland RE201. This is a stereo effect by default. We have the tube tape right here, which is modeled after a modern sounding tape echo. Sound Toys does not distinguish which particular unit this is modeled after. So I hope that that gives you a solid idea of tape echo, what it looks like, what it sounds like, how you can use it in your productions, and also a few different options you have here for plugin emulations. Next up is analog delay, which typically refers to an analog hardware delay unit that often uses bucket brigade devices to cause a delay effect. Technically, tape delay is also analog, though it is a separate type of delay that we will be discussing in this video. Analog delay, like tape delay, also has plenty of software emulations available to achieve the same effect through software. Although there are several different technologies on the market for analog delay devices, the most common is the bucket brigade device, or BBD. A BBD is a network of capacitors connected in cascade that, when controlled by a clock, can effectively delay the signal by a set amount of time. The quality of each successive repeat in a bucket brigade device delay unit is degraded, giving a warm sound quite similar to that of tape delay. The actual design of these devices is rather involved and far beyond the scope of this video. That being said, I do have more in-depth information on each of these delay types, how they're built and how they work. You can find that in my ebook, Mixing with Delay. I will leave a link to that in the description box down below if you're interested. All right, now let's have a look and listen at analog delay inside Logic Pro. All right, we're back inside of Logic Pro to have a look and listen at analog delay plugin emulations. You'll see here that there's nothing in the top slot because Logic Pro doesn't offer a specified BBD analog delay device as a plugin emulation. So rather, we are going to start with the PreSonus analog delay right here. So let's quickly have a listen to what this sounds like, and then we'll go through the different controls. So that's our basic analog delay right there. We have, of course, our time, which we can sync or unsync to the tempo of the song. Our feedback, which goes up to 100%. We have an LFO that will warble the pitch of the delay effect. We have color, where we have a low cut, high cut filter, as well as a drive knob here, where we can add a bit more drive to the effect. This motor control right here is a little weird because this is an analog delay based on BBD or bucket brigade devices, but this motor control, as read in the manual, controls the tape speed. So this is an analog delay being emulated on tape. So we can adjust this tape speed to half at 0.5 or double at 2 or anywhere in between. 1.00 is just the regular speed. And the inertia here is how the motor speed can change over time, especially when we are moving this around. Moving on to the width, you heard as I increased the width, we got more of a stereo effect. We are currently in ping pong mode right here. And we have the global dry wet control, which, because again, this is an effects return, I have all the way to wet. So let's close this one, move on to Echo Boy, one of our favorites once again. And like the options for tape delay, the Echo Boy offers several options for analog delay as well. Notably the analog delay setting right here, which we can have a listen to. But we also have presets based on things like the Memory Man, which is modeled after the Electro Harmonics Memory Man delay pedal for guitar and other instruments. Let's have a listen to this. You can really hear that getting dark on the repeats as we let them ring out. We also have the DM2, which is based off of the classic Boss DM2 guitar pedal. Let's have a listen to this. Make sure this is all the way to wet. So we get the sound of these classic delay units in the analog world, but with a bunch of added controls, particularly with the input-output saturation controls right here, as well as the mode and the groove and feel controls over here. So that is the Soundtoys Echo Boy analog echo processor. Let's move on now to the Waves Super Tap, which is a plugin I just picked up, so forgive me if I'm not overly familiar with this. But right here we have a stereo delay where we are feeding the input signal to the left and the right. You can see here that we can rotate the pan positions all the way to the left, all the way to the right, or anywhere in between if we'd like. We can have them both to the left or both to the right. You can see this happening in this screen right here. I currently have the direct signal off because, again, this is an effects return. So let's move these to the far left and far right, just to give the most contrast possible. And then we have our delay time right here, which is based on a grid of 16th notes. So the left delay will be 2 16th notes delay time or an eighth note, whereas the right delay will be 4 16ths or a quarter note. So let's have a listen to this. All right, so that is the Super Tap delay. Obviously, we can get a lot more detailed with this plugin, but this is the analog delay setting that I wanted to show you as another option for analog delay in a plugin. All right, before we move on to digital delay, if you're finding this video helpful thus far, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the My New Microphone YouTube channel for more information just like this about music production and mixing. So finally, we have digital delay, which is the cleanest and most versatile type of delay that we have. As the name would suggest, digital delays use DSP or digital signal processing to achieve delay style effects rather than relying on tape or bucket brigade devices as the previous two delay types have. With DSP, we can achieve results that are far beyond the limits of possibility for analog and tape style delays. Digital delay circuits and software can have extremely long delay times, and each repeat can be exactly the same as the original sound source if we need it to be. Digital delay is often cherished and criticized for being bright, clean, clinical, and exact in its reproduction of its delays of the original signal. Let's now have a look at digital delay inside Logic Pro. All right, moving on, we have our digital delay. Let's start off with the basic Logic Pro Echo. This is a super simple plugin. We have our note control right here, which we can adjust to whatever we want to sync the delay time to. We have our feedback control, dry, wet. Of course, we are 100% wet because this is an effects return. And then color to give a little bit of color to the otherwise digital echo. So if we play this back, you'll notice that there's no degradation of the signal, it just gets quieter. Actually, the first repeat is a bit louder than the original signal right here, but as the repeats fade out, they are not degraded, they're just quieter in level. Let's adjust the color and hear what this sounds like. So when we bring the color down, the delays get darker. When we bring the color up, the delays get brighter. So this is just a way to get the delay to sound a little bit different from the original sound itself. But that is as simple as it gets with digital delay here in Logic Pro. So let's close this one down, move on to Primal Tap. This is another excellent SoundToys plugin. We have a bunch of different presets to choose from right here. Let's start off with the Spaced Station and have a listen to what this sounds like. The Primal Tap plugin is an emulation of the primetime delay, which is a classic digital delay with some powerful performance and sound design capabilities right here. So we've got feedback control, multiply control, high cut, low cut, depth rate, adjust, bunch of cool stuff going on here. Let's listen to this one more time. So it's really amazing what you can get with this plugin if you take some time to explore and experiment with the different settings right here. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of different presets that we can choose from and tweak from there. Okay, moving on. We have our Echo Boy once again, and this time we are going to look at the digital delay preset. Let's have a listen to this. And there you can really hear the digital delay in action. It's the exact same sound, just repeated at a lower volume right there. So that's a look and listen at a few different options for digital delay plugins within our digital audio workstations. All right, I hope that that has been eye-opening and practical for you. And if you'd like to learn more about mixing in a practical way, I put together a free guidebook for you that you can check out in the description box down below. All you have to do is sign up to my email list and I will send that to you immediately. This guidebook goes through a practical workflow that you can follow so that you can make the right decisions in your mixes at the right times and get consistently better mixes in doing so. So if you're interested, there's a link to that in the description box down below, along with other valuable resources here at My New Microphone. I will also leave another few videos up in the top left and right corner that have to do with mixing music and producing music that I think you will enjoy checking out. So like the video, subscribe if you'd like, and click on one of these videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.